this is Board Game Buddy. This will be the first video in a Solo Conquest playthrough using material from the Mage Knight Shades of Tezla expansion. Here we can see the box that came with the Shades of Tezla expansion, and I wanted to compare it to the Krang character box since some people had asked about the difference in size. I also wanted to show you the rulebook again in a little bit more detail. A lot has been made of the creasing, and you can see the creasing here on my rulebook is most noticeable at the top. I also wanted to show you the character just as a kind of interesting comparison. You can see here the Braevalar character is in the center, and on either side of him there are characters from the Mage Knight tabletop game from about 10 years ago. Very interestingly, this character here on the right is actually General Voltaire. We saw him, of course, in the Lost Legion expansion, but I believe this was his very first iteration. On the left is Kiernan Starsdawn. It's an interesting note that one of the artifacts from the Lost Legion expansion is the Bow of Starsdawn. So here, you quite literally see the Bow of Starsdawn. I also wanted to show you the difference in the enemy token sizes. So the front row obviously are the tokens that came with the base game and Lost Legion, and then the tokens in the back are the smaller size tokens that came with the Shades of Tezla expansion pack. For the purposes of this playthrough, I am going to be using a die to roll, and depending upon the results of the die, that will determine if I choose one of the larger size tokens or the smaller size tokens. It's not ideal, but it's a suitable workaround for me at this point in time. In addition to using the enemy tokens, the new enemy tokens in the Solo Conquest, I'm also going to be using the faction tokens. What that means is that if I defeat an enemy that belongs to one of these two factions, I can then claim this token for a single use, or I could use it for fame. And we'll talk about how that works in more detail in our playthrough. For now, we're going to go ahead and set up the initial offers and take a look at the map layout. Alright, before we go ahead and do the setup, let's take a closer look at the faction tokens. Here are the description of the faction tokens available for the Elementalists. So if I defeat an Elementalist enemy, I'm able to claim one of these faction tokens that can be considered a single use or used for fame. And then here are the faction tokens for the Dark Crusaders. So it'll be very interesting to see how these come into play throughout the course of the game, whether or not they make the game easier, or perhaps if the enemies themselves are so much more difficult that they justify gaining a powerful faction token of this nature. I will re-roll the mana die in the source. I've got 2 white and 1 black. I will go ahead and draw the units. Herbalists, Red Cape Monks, and Crossbowmen. It's a pretty good unit offer to begin. Unfortunately, 2 of the 3 are available in monasteries, although the herbalists are also available in villages, and we're not guaranteed that we're going to have a monastery revealed on the map. Take a look at the advanced action offer. Counterattack. Into the Heat. And Mana Storm. We'll draw the spells. Snowstorm, Cure, Fireball. The dummy player I'll be using is Norwas, and I will add his player token in just a moment. I've added Norwas's player token. That order may change after I draw my tactic cards, but first I'm going to go ahead and reveal the map tiles. Okay, unfortunately I did not reveal a monastery, but I did reveal a keep and a couple of villages. Those could be really helpful. Let me go ahead and grab the enemy token for the keep. There are no new keep enemies in the expansion, so I'm just going to draw from the original stack. Now there are new orc tokens available, so to determine which one I choose, I'm actually just going to roll a mana die. I'll take the black die from the source and I'll later return it to black. Right now I'm going to roll it, and if it rolls on gold, green, or white, I'm going to take from the original stack. If it goes to red, blue, or black, then I'm going to take from the new expansion stack. Let's see what we can find. Okay, it came out white, so I'm going to go ahead and take from the original stack. I'll take this and set it back to black and return it to the source. I will draw up to my unmodified hand limit of 5. I draw Crystallize, Druidic Paths, Rage, Swiftness, and Promise. Now, even as I take these cards from my deck, I can definitely feel how much lighter they are and how much more flimsy they are as compared to the cards, for example, from Norwas's deck. They just feel much heavier. Alright, so at this point I'm going to go ahead and draw my tactics. I'll take 2 cards. I gain concentration. And I also gain March, which is great. I was looking for movement because I would like to move up to the village, possibly recruit the crossbowmen in the village, and then open up one more map tile. But first, we're going to go ahead to the dummy player. Norwas does not begin with any red crystals, so he holds, having drawn only 3 cards. Now it's my turn. On my first turn, I'm going to play Swiftness, March, and Druidic Paths to give myself move 6. Move 6 allows me to go into the village. Then I am going to play Promise, taking 1 white mana from the source. placing it there to gain influence of 4. Now that I have an influence of 4, and the crossbowman requires 6, I'm going to play Rage sideways to give myself 1 influence, and although I may regret it later, I'll play Concentration sideways to give myself 1 more influence for a total of 6, which allows me to take the crossbowmen under my control, so I'll place them under my command token. I will go ahead and clean up my player area, and then I'll draw back up to my hand limit before proceeding back to the dummy player. I've re-rolled the white die and it came up gold. Now I'm going to draw back up to my hand limit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go back to the dummy player. Norwas does begin with 1 green mana crystal, so I'll place 1 more card. And now I'll see what cards I've actually drawn. I've drawn Tranquility, Determination, Threaten, which I could have used before, and more Swiftness. So I don't particularly have a lot of movement, but I am going to play this Swiftness to give myself move 2, which will allow me to open up the tile directly ahead of me. Alright, so I have revealed a Mage Tower, a Crystal Mine, a Magic Glade, and 1 Orc. Take the Mage Tower first. And then I will roll a mana die. Red, blue, or black means an original enemy. Gold, green, or white means 1 from the expansion. Came up red. So I take 1 from the expansion, and then I will return this as black to the source. Alright, this is the first enemy that we're taking from the new expansion. And this is what we've drawn. A Sprite as part of the Elementalist faction. The only other thing I would like to do on this turn is to play Crystallize, taking a white mana from the source so that I can gain a white mana token to my inventory. I will clean up my player area. First I'll take the die, re-roll it, it comes up red. I will discard my played cards. We'll drop to my new hand limit of 5. And I will go back to the dummy player. Now, because I am on a village, during the dummy player's turn, I can still plunder this village, adding 2 cards to my hand. The price of doing that, however, is to lower my reputation by 1. So I'm going to lower my reputation, draw my 2 extra cards, which are mana draw and 1 with the land, and then go to the dummy player. Norwas starts with no red crystals, so I only draw 3. Looking at the map now, I would like to try to go up and to take the Mage Tower. Let's see if my hand can support it. I need 5 movement to get in. I could discard a card on improvisation to give me enough to get in. Could discard stamina, for example. If I take a red die from the source. That would give me 5 movement. I don't know then that I would have much in the way of attack. I do have 3 attack from my crossbowman, but that isn't going to be a lot. I could play this sideways for 4, 5, 6. Could play this sideways even for 7. I could use the stronger effect of one with a land, and also the stronger effect of tranquility if I take the white mana crystal from my inventory. Place it upon mana draw, take a mana die from the source and set it to any color except gold. So I'll take black, the depleted. I'll set it to green. I will gain 2 green mana tokens. A token means that you must use it in this turn. A crystal means you can save it to your inventory. The more powerful effect of tranquility allows me to draw up 2 cards. I actually only have 1 left, but that's okay. It is rage. So let's go into the Mage Tower and see what we're facing. We are facing a Savage Monk. I will move into the Mage Tower. Because it's a fortified site, I'll once again decrease my reputation by 1. The monk has an attack of 5, and I will receive some block from the more powerful effect of 1 with the land. Move 4, heal 2, or block equal to the unmodified move cost of the space that you are in. I'm in a forest, which during the day is 3, so that gives me 3 block. This could give me 4, 5. Now I need 5 attack. I can gain 3 attack from my crossbowman. And I could gain 2 more attack for a total of 5 attack from rage. That's enough to allow me to successfully defeat the monks, and I did not have to use any influence. So, since I have defeated the Mage Tower, what I'm going to do is to take any one spell from the offer, and what's nice about this is that I do not have to pay the mana. If I'm later able to use influence here, I would have to use the necessary number of influence, which would be 6, plus a mana of the corresponding color. But when you take a Mage Tower, you don't need to pay the mana. I like all of these options. I think I am going to take Snowstorm Blizzard. So I take this card, place it on what would normally be the top of my deed deck. Right now my deed deck is empty, so it's the only card there. I am going to give myself the 4 fame for defeating this enemy. This does allow me to level up, so I'm going to take 2 of the skill tokens. See what my options are. I have Beguile, giving me influence. And then I have the cooperative skill. Okay, you can read the description here of the cooperative skill, Nature's Vengeance. You can use cooperative skills even in a solo game. However, because I am currently on the Mage Tower, I think in my next turn, I will take Beguile to give myself the influence so that I can combine that with the influence card already in my hand so that I can purchase one more spell from the spell offer. Okay, I've decided to take Beguile. I'll take the skill, set it in my player area, and then choose any one card from the advanced action offer. Of the advanced action cards available to me in the offer, I have Counterattack, Into the Heat, and Mana Storm. I'm going to take Counterattack. Take the card. I'll place it on top of my deep deck. I will clean up my player area, re-rolling the red mana die. Comes up white. The green remains green. After I've cleaned up my area, I'll go back to the dummy player and then take my final turn. Okay, so I have replenished the spell offer, adding Mana Bolt, Mana Thunderstorm. And I've also replenished the advanced action offer, adding Heroic Tale. The dummy player draws. And holds at 3. I previously had Threaten in my hand, plus my spell and Counterattack. The ranged ice attack is interesting because I would, if possible, it would be really interesting to take out that Sprite so that I could gain the faction token related to the Elementalists, which we see here. I'm really excited to try those out. But because there was a wall separating us, it's fortified, meaning I could only use a siege attack. I would have enough to easily defeat it if I could block both of its attacks. It has 2 attacks of 1 apiece. So I think the choice is, I could use Threaten and Counterattack to block each of its attacks, and then I could take the gold mana from the source to power up my ranged ice attack to give me enough to defeat it without taking any wounds. We can see it has an armor value of 1, and you can see there the defend ability of 1. So what that 1 means is that when it's attacked, it uses its defense ability, so it would really have an armor of 2. If I did not block each of its attacks, its base armor would be 2 and its defend armor would be 1 for a total of 3. It is ice resistant, so it ignores unit abilities powered by blue mana, but that wouldn't really apply in this case. This is really tempting. I really would like to gain one of the Elementalists' abilities, one of the faction tokens, but at the same time, it would be very easy for me to use influence here. I have 2 influence from Beguile, 2 from Threaten. I could play these 2 sideways for a total of 6. But since my reputation is already -1, I would have to use the gold mana from the source to gain the greater effect of influence. I'll have to think this over. Okay, after looking at it in more detail, I actually do not have the ability to generate the 7 influence that I would need. I could use the gold mana from the source to receive the more powerful effect of Threaten, add the 2 influence from Beguile, but the problem is then I have no more mana to pay for one of the spells from the offer. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm actually going to engage in combat with the Sprite. Okay, let's take a look at how combat can work against the Sprite. Since it has ice resistance, I'm not going to use my spell. I'm not also going to attempt to block it. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take wounds into my hand. I have to take a total of 2 wounds. I take 2 wounds because each attack is worth 1. Cannot stop the attack, so I take a wound. 1 minus my armor of 2 is -1, so I take no additional wounds. I do that a second time, gaining a second wound, because it has 2 attacks. The Sprite's base armor value is 1. Because I didn't block it, the armor is 2. Because it has the defend ability, it's actually 3. I'm going to generate 3 physical attack by using the basic effect of counterattack and playing Snowstorm sideways. That gives me attack of 3, which allows me to successfully defeat the Sprite. Because I've done this, I'm going to take my first enemy faction token. Let's see what I've drawn. It looks like a good one. I will grab the card and we'll take a closer look. I have drawn the Tome of Relearning. On your turn, when not in combat, you may swap one of your skills for another in the common skills area. Right now, there's obviously not much there, but that will grow throughout the course of the game. I'm so happy I decided to take on this Sprite because I feel like this is one of the very strongest abilities that you're able to gain in this way. I'm gladly going to accept this. Placing it in my player area. Because I defeated the Sprite, I do gain 1 fame, and I also gain 1 reputation. That's going to be key when I go into my next turn. On the dummy player's turn, he goes. I place the card sideways to remind myself that he will announce end of round the next time I come back. I go back to my turn. I could take gold mana from the source in order to power up my influence, giving myself influence 5, adding 2 more influence from Beguile to give myself influence 7, which could allow me to take a spell from the offer. Unfortunately, I do not have access to any other mana. So, because of that, all I can do is discard, threaten, along with my wounds, go into the end of round, and get ready for the first night. I think it was a successful day. I was able to recruit crossbowmen, I was able to gain a spell, and I was also able to gain an enemy faction token. We'll see what the first night has in store.